Next on Sisterhood of the Second Act.
Research shows while there are many female real estate agents, there are relatively few female real estate investors, which mirrors the gender disparity in stock market investing. Real estate can be a great investment for many women. Mortgage banker Getra Hanes will walk us through the process, whether you're buying a home to live in or as an investment property. Debbie Maurer and her husband Alan have traveled the world. In addition to coming home with a lifetime of memories, she also came back with a book full of recipes. She's hoping the gift of soup will feed many of the area's hungry. We'll meet both of these women on this edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act, right after this.
Sisterhood of the Second Act is brought to you by Step out the door with confidence, ready to conquer the day. Whether you are going to the cafe down the street or headed into work, you know you will always look your best in Cabby Styles. Your stylist, Darlene Marshall, will help you pick the styles that make you sparkle. And Cabby has styles for all body types. Call Darlene at 540-330-6819, 540-330-6819, and follow her on Instagram at Dapper Darlin.
I'm going to be an oak tree.
I think I'll be a dogwood tree.
My kids say they be looking for a thorny tree for me.
With Evergreen, you can be a tree. Our biodegradable urn combines your ashes, natural soil additives, and a native tree of your choice. Be a tree and grow for tomorrow.
I want to be a tree.
Learn more at evergreenmemorialtrust.com.
Buy local this holiday season and get unique gifts on time. Start your holiday shopping at the New Moon Network store for original artwork by the Virginia artists featured on the Sisterhood of the Second Act set. You will also find Sisterhood merchandise there. Stop by the Earthworks Artworks Gallery at 228 South Pollard Street in Vinton, Virginia, or shop online at newmoonnetwork.com and have it delivered to you. Your purchase supports Virginia artists and local programming by the New Moon Network. Now from the Fox Radio Roanoke studio, here's Kathy Heberle.
Welcome to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Kathy Heberle. Investing in real estate can be incredibly rewarding and a lucrative way to put your money to work for you. But unless you have a ton of cash sitting around, you'll need to get financing when you buy real estate. Here with us today is Getra Hanes, licensed mortgage banker at Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group. Welcome, Getra.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. What are some reasons women might want to consider investing in real estate?
Well, investing in real estate can be one of the best ways to accumulate wealth. Real estate harnesses the power of supply and demand, and it's an excellent complement to your long-term portfolio. It also creates passive income, which is really important for women because women live longer, and so they need to be thinking ahead and making sure that they're planning for their financial futures. There's also tax advantages for owning real estate.
That's right. I know there's different types. So let's start with what is involved with a primary home loan.
Sure. So a primary home loan would be one that you plan to live in that home as your main home base. And so there are many loan programs. Just to name a few, there's a conventional loan, FHA, USDA, a VA loan for veterans, and there's several first-time homebuyer loans. And the down payment for a primary loan is much lower than some of the other types of loans that we'll talk about later. So down payment you can expect for a primary loan, would it be anywhere from 0 down to 3% or 5%? And some people choose to put 20% down or more.
Okay, that sounds really good. And then let's talk, the next type would be a secondary home or vacation home loan, and what are the down payment requirements associated with those for somebody that's looking to invest?
So a second home would be like a vacation home. So you may choose to have one near a beach or mountains, at the lake, or perhaps at a college or a place that you frequent for business. These are not used for investment homes, and so it's more of a vacation home or a home that you choose to spend some of your time at, and the down payment requirement is usually about 10%. You can certainly do more to avoid mortgage insurance.
Right. Okay, and then so then the last one would be an investment home loan, and what are the down payment requirements associated with it? So that is one that is considered an investment property?
Yes.
Okay.
So an investment home would be one that you plan to use for either long-term or short-term rental for the purpose of income generation. And the down payment requirements for those would be somewhere between 20 and 25% down.
All right, so that's what you need to keep in mind when you start shopping.
Yes.
And that leads me to another question of PMI. What is PMI?
PMI is private mortgage insurance, and it protects the lender. It does not protect the buyer, and it's something that most buyers want to avoid. And I try to help them do that. So if you can put 20% down on a conventional loan, you do not have to pay private mortgage insurance.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yes.
And we are speaking with Getra Hanes, licensed mortgage banker at Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group. And why is it important to work with a licensed lender?
Well, we have a fiduciary responsibility to look out for the client's best interest.
Sure.
Confidentiality is paramount in my business, and I'm professionally trained to answer questions and guide buyers through the home financing process and explain loan programs.
That sounds very good. And is having a good credit score important for loan eligibility?
Absolutely, yes it is.
Okay.
It's very important to have a good credit score. And credit is complicated, but generally speaking, you want to have a score ideally in the 700s. You can certainly become eligible with a score within the 600 range.
Okay.
The range for credit is anywhere from 300 to 850, and that's a FICO score. That's the scale that is used. And a mortgage company is going to pull credit and from the 3 different bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, and then we take the middle score. So it's not an average, but rather just the middle score of the 3 bureaus. And the higher that your score is, the better interest rates that you can qualify for. We take into consideration a lot of other factors as well, but credit is very important.
Okay, so along with that then, can you describe what to expect during the loan application process? For example, like what types of documents are required and things so that they're prepared?
Sure. The application process is very simple. It usually begins with a phone conversation. In some cases, they can do it online, and it takes maybe 10 or 15 minutes to get that started.
That's all? That's
Yeah,
not bad.
that's not bad.
No.
So we'll ask information related to employment or income. We will ask about savings, asset documentation. So when we're collecting those documents, it would include asset statements, W-2s, 1099s, potentially tax returns. So those are a few of the documents that we would need.
And is that more than 1 year's worth in most cases?
Well, it's 2 years. We go
Okay.
back 2 years,
2
and then
years,
for
okay.
pay stubs, it's 30 days.
Okay. So current, you obviously want current ones. And then I think I forgot to ask this, so I would like to just make sure if you had talked about it just a little more detail. How is a FICO score calculated?
So FICO scores, there's a lot that goes into that, and it is complicated, but it takes in consideration your payment history, the debt that you owe, the types of credit, and the length of credit. So all of that makes up a FICO score. And a few things to keep in mind while we're on the topic of credit. It's really important to not max out any credit cards that you have. So I always talk with my clients about the importance of the 30% utilization rule.
Okay.
And that means that if you have a credit card, let's say the limit is $5,000,
Yes.
you do not want to ever spend more than $1,500. And likewise, on a lower limit card of, say, $500, your limit should be, in your mind, $150. The moment that you go over 30% utilization, your credit does suffer. So it's important that you try to pay off your credit card every month, and that will help improve or keep your credit score as strong as it can be.
That's really good information to know. And I know you also educate your buyers when they work with you as far as how to keep that clean and until their purchase is closed and finalized. Is that correct?
Yes, it's very important. So after someone goes through the pre-qualification or pre-approval process, they need to be mindful of not opening any new lines of credit, not going on any shopping sprees, ideally not going out and buying a car. That all will be reflected on a credit report. And so we take that into consideration in making sure that they're well prepared and that credit doesn't change.
That sounds good, yes. And what are some benefits, getting back to the real estate investing, what are some benefits of women owning real estate investment properties?
So, there are tax benefits. So generally speaking, you can usually write off any general maintenance that's associated with owning an investment property. So anything related to the operations of that. I always encourage people to talk with a tax advisor to make sure that they're complying with the laws. But that's a large benefit.
Sure.
Also passive income, it's an opportunity to build wealth, and it's a great way to empower oneself to for their financial future.
That sounds very good to me. We are speaking with Getra Hanes, licensed mortgage banker at Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group. And another question I have is, what are some reasons why financing a real estate purchase can be a better option than paying all cash for real estate investment?
That's a great question. If you're spending all of your cash on one property, then you're limiting your opportunity for more wealth. So it may be better for you to potentially put 20% down or 25% down and save the rest for another potential property, and to diversify your assets. So you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket.
That's a good advice.
And I, of course, recommend talking with a financial advisor to see what the right fit for you is. Also, interest rates, depending on what they are at any given time, it may be better for you to have a low interest rate instead of just paying cash. There's more benefits there. So you can make your money work better for you if it's invested.
That sounds good to me. And what are some of the risks associated with owning real estate investment property?
Well, it's certainly important to think about the risks. If you own an investment property, and let's say you have a long-term renter who has lost their job, maybe they can't pay their rent, and therefore you're still responsible for paying the mortgage. How will you handle that? Do you have enough reserves in order to make those mortgage payments while your renter potentially gets up on their feet, or you're able to find a new renter? Some other things to take into consideration would be weather-related events like a hurricane or a flood or a natural disaster. So making sure that you're adequately insured and protected, and that you have enough reserves in place to protect your asset.
That sounds good. And once someone is pre-approved for a loan, is there anything that's important for them to be aware of while shopping for the right home?
Yes. So just because you're pre-approved for a particular amount doesn't mean that you should shop at your max. So you want to take into consideration what's comfortable for your budget. And then it can be a long process. Finding the right home takes some time. And so, making sure that you keep your eyes open, you're ready, you already have your financial ducks in a row. And then, you want to make sure that your credit stays in check. So not opening any of the new lines of credit. Don't go on any shopping sprees. There might be some really great deals. Maybe you have some appliances in mind for that future home or furniture, but it's probably best just to wait until after you've made that purchase before you start adding up any more debt.
That sounds great. And we're ready to wrap it up, but I want to thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. We'll have Getra's contact information in our show notes on our website, sisterhoodofthesecond-act.com. There's more Sisterhood of the Second Act ahead. Nothing can cure a big hunger or soothe you on a cold day like soup. When we return, Soup from around the world is fighting hunger right here at home.
Buy local this holiday season and get unique gifts on time. Start your holiday shopping at the New Moon Network store for original artwork by the Virginia artists featured on the Sisterhood of the Second Act set. You will also find Sisterhood merchandise there. Stop by the Earthworks Artworks Gallery at 228 South Pollard Street in Vinton, Virginia, or shop online at newmoonnetwork.com and have it delivered to you. Your purchase supports Virginia artists and local programming by the New Moon Network.
I'm gonna be an oak tree.
I think I'll be a dogwood tree.
My kids say they be looking for a thorny tree from me.
With Evergreen, you can be a tree. Our biodegradable urn combines your ashes, natural soil additives, and a native tree of your choice. Be a tree and grow for tomorrow.
I want to be a tree.
Learn more at evergreenmemorialtrust.com.
There's more Sisterhood of the Second Act coming up after this. There's more inside the hemp mill than CBD products. There's a community. Stop in for Friday's Coffee Talk to enjoy free hemp coffee and treats. Patent-pending products made from hemp for anxiety, pain relief, and organic healthy eating. Cannabinoid products you can trust because the hemp is locally grown, processed, and formulated by us with patent-pending formulations. That includes our Pet Calm and dog biscuits. The Hemp Mill, women-owned and operated with nutritional offerings, local cards, gifts, jewelry, and trending fashions made by women-owned businesses. TheHempMill.net. Once again from the Fox Radio Roanoke studio, here's Kathy Heberle.
Welcome back to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Kathy Heberle. The Gift of Soup presents as a beautiful, full-color cookbook with soup recipes from around the world. The cookbook is a collection of soup recipes discovered by the author, Debbie Maurer, while biking, hiking, and traveling off the beaten path around the world with her husband, Alan. Debbie is hoping the book is a tasty solution to alleviating hunger and creating nutritional meals that are enjoyed all over the world. Thank you for being with us today, Debbie. My pleasure. We said in our introduction that you discovered these recipes while traveling the world. Do you have a food background?
Somewhat. I was a home economics major in college.
Okay.
And I came from a family of 7 children, in which case we had to help with our college education. So I worked in a restaurant for the years that I was in school. And then afterwards, I continued in the culinary field for a couple years until I moved on from that. But I did catering.
Okay.
And for a while, well, for 14 years, I worked with the Red Cross, and I did national disasters and worked in the mass care section of it. And so we would go out and feed 800 people 3 times a day. And so we were I'm always been doing food. So.
Oh, that is a lot of experience in that area, very much so. So these trips were hiking and biking in other countries. What countries did you visit? Give us a few, at least.
At least a few.
Yes.
Most of them were in Europe, Eastern European countries.
Okay.
My grandmother and grandfather were from Hungary and Budapest, so it was fun to go back to where my roots were.
Yes.
So we did those in France and Italy and Germany and Poland and Portugal and quite a few other ones, but just to give you a taste of some of them.
So did you bring bikes with you or use what was available there? How did that work?
Well, we went with a tour group, and it was a biking tour.
Okay, so that was designed for that.
That was designed for that. They had the bikes. You could bring your own, but we never did. And they had the bikes, and they followed us and were there to pick us up when we were finished for the day, and then place us back in the next little backcountry road for the next day.
Okay, so was this all one trip or was it several trips over the years?
Over the years, probably one every year.
Oh,
so
wow.
for 12, 13 years, 14 years we've been doing that.
And did you have a favorite?
Poland, probably.
And why was that?
Well, the history of Poland was amazing. Their food was, I can't even describe how wonderful it is. They have different spices. They use a lot of sauerkraut and a lot of meats, and that's just, I love it.
You do.
And yes, and the people were fantastic. It was one of the best trips. We biked from Warsaw to Krakow.
Wonderful. And I guess the main question is, why soup?
Because I love soup.
Well, so do I.
Yeah, do you?
I
Yes.
do.
I eat it for breakfast. I eat it anytime. So I've always had an affinity for it, and I've always made it. So when we've had parties or gatherings, soup was always there.
My father said you can feed a lot of guests, you just add a little more,
More water.
I like
He's right.
that.
He is
that
really
right?
Well, I think so.
Yes. And
So after COVID broke out, and I was making masks for the community because they needed masks for the school children and for the healthcare workers. And a newscast came on one day and said that they were closing all the schools and all the free lunch programs were over. And that was my breaking point. It's like, I have got to do something.
yes.
So I said, okay.
And that was an area you felt comfortable and were very expert at. I love that. That's reminds me of other stories. People that can knit. Anything you can do in your area, you did, and you took that challenge. And I think that's wonderful. We are talking with cookbook author Debbie Maurer. And obviously people will learn how to make soup, but what other takeaways are there in the book?
Well, I think I chose the travel for that reason, so that the recipes that I gathered from some of the chefs in Europe, I've asked if I could at least have their ingredients, and they shared, so that I could put together soups that a lot of people who may never be able to travel or have not traveled will be able to taste something different. So it wasn't just regular American food, which it's in that book also, but it gives them a taste of another world. And I thought that would help possibly sell the book, in which case all the net profits are all going to food-related charities, Feeding America being the top one, and they will actually partner with other groups and give all the food to the pantries or wherever they need it in the country.
That is amazing. Yeah. Now, because some of these countries may use ingredients we're not familiar with, will the ingredients in your book be available to people in this country, or is it? I'm sure it's going to be popular worldwide, but what is your take on that?
Absolutely. You can find everything in my book. I made sure that you could find it locally.
That's wonderful.
And then there was a couple recipes where there was a Moroccan soup, and so they had a combination of a number of different ingredients. So I put the recipe in there, so if they want to buy it online, they can actually put it together.
I love that. That is really a good way to do it. And I hear there are wonderful, beautiful pictures in this book. And did you and your husband take those pictures?
Well, I did, and another friend.
You and another friend. So those are part of the experience of when you travel. That's what makes it so authentic, I'm sure.
That's right.
And why did you decide to put these recipes into a book?
Again, I needed to give back to my community, and I needed a way to get some resources so that we can feed the
and you can't literally feed everybody yourself, so this is a very, very good resource. What did you learn from the experience of putting this book together?
Hard work.
Oh, I'm sure.
Very hard work, but it was worth every bit of it, and just the giving back to the community was the most important thing. So my takeaway is you work hard, you make it work, and then you can sit back and...
I have a question. How often or how many times did you have to make each recipe before you were comfortable? I mean, were some easier than others?
Oh, sure. Some I already had, some that I have used for years. And I have a soup party every year for our hiking group, and I'll do 4 or 5 soups every year, and the whole group comes. It can be 40, 50 people, and we sit down and eat all the soup. So they've been my guinea pigs all these years. Every year I try to do a different kind. And so this year, I'm happy to say it's going to be next week, and I'm doing all the international, not all, but 5 of the international soups, so they can taste the taste of different worlds.
Well, I think anytime you put together a party, you're going to have a really attentive audience there. And we are talking with cookbook author Debbie Maurer, and you are not making any profit from this book. So how is it being used to raise money to help feed the hungry?
So I have partnered with my publisher, Andy Wolf from Mariner Media,
Okay.
who has been fabulous. He has taken on this project to help us get the book out there, and he is involved in the Rotary chapters, and we're hoping, because the book hasn't even been printed yet, we're hoping that the Rotary district of the Shenandoah Valley will take on this project. Hopefully they will purchase their own books, and then they will sell them, and they will partner then with Feeding America and get the book out. And Feeding America will take the funds and give it to the food banks where they're needed.
Very good. And so it's in the publishing stages right now.
Right. We haven't even seen it yet.
Oh my goodness, how exciting. And then once it's published, which we're expecting it to come out in early next year or in 20?
Well, it will be out now. What our publisher has done is he has set up a web page and a pre-order form right now that people can pre-order for the book right now. You can call him.
So you can pre-order.
Yep, you can pre-order right now, and he will take care of all that. It's $19.95 for the book plus tax, and if you need it shipped, there's a small shipping fee.
Sure.
And he will take orders now, and then in 2022, when it finally is hooked up hopefully with the Rotary of the Shenandoah Valley, then they will take over the sales, and you can just contact your local Rotary.
Well, I think people
chapter.
will be very interested in hearing all about these soups they can make from around the world. And I do have a question, and is the book formatted in an order, such as you would go around in a tour, or is it by type? How did you decide on the actual format?
Well, we did it, it was an interesting process, but I just decided to do meats and poultry and seafood and vegetarians. And in the content page,
yes,
we put flags of every country of what soup it is. So when they go to the content page, they'll know where it is and what part of the book it's from.
That is wonderful. I'm so excited. I would say that I know I'm looking forward to it, and I think everybody will be. So thank you so much for being with us, Debbie, for sharing your story and your experiences also. You've inspired a lot of us, I think. So I love that. And we'll have the link for all of her information if you'd like to purchase the book in our show notes on our website at sisterhoodofthesecond.act.com. And we'll be back to wrap up the show after this.
Kathy's wardrobe provided by Cabby stylist Darlene Marshall. See the styles in our show notes at sisterhoodofthesecond.act.com.
See where a grateful nation remembers its heroes, and where Thomas Jefferson came to relax. Where small town charm is just down the road from big outdoor adventures. Find peace and quiet, as well as the sounds of family fun. Destination Bedford is located where the Piedmont Plateau meets the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. Where ordinary ends, Bedford begins.
There's more inside the hemp mill than CBD products. There's a community. Stop in for Friday's Coffee Talk to enjoy free hemp coffee and treats. Patent-pending products made from hemp for anxiety, pain relief, and organic healthy eating. Cannabinoid products you can trust because the hemp is locally grown, processed, and formulated by us with patent-pending formulations. That includes our Pet Calm and dog biscuits. The Hemp Mill, women-owned and operated with nutritional offerings, local cards, gifts, jewelry, and trending fashions made by women-owned businesses. TheHempMill.net.
I want to thank Getra Hanes and Debbie Maurer for being with us today. Getra provided great information for women interested in investing in real estate, and Debbie entertained us with her travels and how she turned her experiences into a resource for helping others. I'm Kathy Heberle. Join us again next week for another edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act.